Alright, finally. I was wondering when marketing for this movie was gonna start, and honestly I'm not surprised it took this long. But now we have our first and probably only trailer for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. The sequel to Aquaman, which came out about 5 years ago and was a huge hit, one of the highest grossing DC movies of all time, if not the highest grossing. Cause that Jason Momoa star power, baby! Let's hope it carries through this time. If you remember, I loved that movie when it came out, cause it was just so huge in scope, you know? I watched it last night and it's still as huge as I remember, although I'll admit the dialogue is a bit cheesy at times, but it's still pretty good. So alright, let's finally talk about this trailer for the sequel. So it starts out and immediately I was like, IMAX aspect ratio. Love it. Yeah, it looks like this movie was filmed entirely with IMAX cameras. You know I'm a fan of that. Could mean this movie's gonna be even bigger in scope than the first movie, if that's even possible. So alright, we start off Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman. He's doing his voiceover.
4 years ago, I was basically unemployed. But now, I'm a husband and a father.
Okay, well, that's news to us. This movie's gonna take place 4 years after the events of the first one. So if we're looking at the chronology of events in terms of Aquaman in the DC Extended Universe, it's BVS, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So, 4 years after Aquaman, he's now married to Mera, and they have a kid together. Okay, I didn't see that coming. I wonder how that dynamic's gonna play into the story of this movie. Like Arthur Curry being a father, how is that going to affect him as a superhero? Cause right now, off the top of my head, I can't think of any other superheroes that are parents. There's gotta be another one out there, right? Am I going crazy? I don't know. Oh, Iron Man in Endgame. There we go. But anyway, yeah, that should be an interesting thing about Arthur Curry in this movie. And of course, not to mention,
I finally got a job. I'm the king of Atlantis.
yeah, after he defeated Orm in the first movie, usurped the throne, and took his place as the rightful king of the underwater kingdom of Atlantis. And so, how is Atlantis doing? It's nice to see that the huge scope of the visual effects has not changed since the first movie. Atlantis still looks fucking amazing. Holy shit, just some of these shots. I'm like, yep, that is what made me fall in love with the first movie. And of course, not just these big city shots, but the action scenes look larger than life, as they were in the first movie. A couple of the ones we see in the beginning, I was like, yeah, IMAX is the way to go. One thing I really loved seeing in this trailer is the fact that Black Manta, it looks like he's going to be the main villain this time around.
I'm gonna kill Aquaman and destroy everything he holds dear.
That's great, bringing him in from the first movie. He was in fact the more interesting villain in the first movie than King Orm, who was the main villain. I mean, Patrick Wilson as Orm in the first movie, I think he was fine, but let's face it, Black Manta had all the character depth. He was sympathetic. I mean, Arthur was pretty much responsible for the death of his father, so Black Manta wants his revenge. Yeah, totally. And Yahya Abdul-Mateen II did a great job in that role too. Plus his big action fight scene was badass. So let's make him the main villain in this movie. That's awesome. We saw in that mid-credit scene in the first movie that it looks like he's going to be working with Stephen Shin, that scientist played by Randall Park. You know, the crazy Atlantis conspiracy theorist? They're probably gonna be working together to find Atlantis and Aquaman, and Black Manta's gonna burn that kingdom to the ground. Cause now he's got the help of All Black the Necro Sword, I mean the Black Trident. That's just what that reminded me of. A super powerful evil weapon that gives him powers. References aside though, that trident looks sick. It's all slick and green and black and evil looking, and apparently it's making Black Manta's eyes glow green. This is actually something that bothered me about Black Manta in the first movie. We never actually hear that character's real name. And for those of us who did not grow up reading Aquaman comics, I was like, does that character have a name? Black Manta's real name, his identity, is David Kane. Now you know. You're welcome. So yeah, David Kane over here looks like he's pretty pissed, and now he's corrupted by some black trident or another, and he's gonna wreck some shop. Can't wait to see that. He's gonna be a great villain. Cause he's already a great villain. So now once again, Arthur Curry has to go on a journey, and he's like, alright, we're gonna need some help. I'm guessing while Mera is at home taking care of the kid. Of course, in reality, we all know why Mera's not gonna be a huge part of this movie. I'll get to that later. But Arthur needs a partner for this journey, so let's take a page out of Thor: The Dark World and recruit the big bad villain from the first movie, who is also the main hero's half-brother.
Ooh, you look rough.
Yeah, it's Thor: The Dark World, which came out 10 years ago. Damn, time flies. But yeah, Patrick Wilson is back as King Orm, and now he is tagging along on this adventure with Arthur Curry. It's funny, that first shot of him, I didn't even recognize him. I was like, who is that? And it wasn't until their dialogue right here.
Good job, little brother. High five.
Do not call me brother.
Where I was like, oh my god, that's Ocean Master, that's Orm. Or I guess he's no longer Ocean Master, huh? He's still Orm though. And so I guess that's gonna be the main plot of this movie. Arthur and Orm go on this big adventure, not unlike the first movie. I'm guessing we're gonna be searching for some lost kingdom. Which, yeah, I have been wondering, what is this Lost Kingdom that is the movie's namesake? I mean, at first, when I first heard that title, I thought, oh, the hidden kingdom in the center of the world that we saw in the first movie, where Queen Atlanta was? That was a Lost Kingdom. Is that the Lost Kingdom that this movie's title is referring to? Or is there another Lost Kingdom somewhere? I don't know. Either way, I'm intrigued though. So it's an adventure journey with Arthur and Orm, probably searching for some lost kingdom, all the while Black Manta is on his revenge quest, going after Arthur and Atlantis and everything Arthur holds dear. I think someone's gonna die. In fact, actually, yeah, someone probably is gonna die, so Black Manta can have his revenge. If I'm gonna guess, if I'm going to take a wild crack at it, there's a shot we see where it looks like Arthur's house is on fire. So I'm guessing either Mara dies, which could very well be likely, or possibly Arthur's father Thomas, Tamara Morrison. That could also be very likely because, you know, revenge for killing Black Manta's father, gonna kill Arthur's father. That would suck, because I love Tamara Morrison, period. But it would also be pretty great motivation for Arthur Curry. Personal ties and all that. But ultimately, of course, we won't know for sure until the movie comes out. In the end, this movie, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, it looks pretty good to me. Of course, I'm not sure how this movie is going to perform, given DC's streak of flops this year, plus the fact that this movie has a pretty bad person in its main cast. Look, I watched Depp v. Heard. I know what went down, I know how bad of a person Amber Heard really is. So I get it. And given how poorly The Flash did in the box office for a similar reason, I think it's safe to say it's not looking too good for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom's box office numbers. Which does suck because we got Jason Momoa coming back, we got James Wan directing again, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Tamara Morrison, Patrick Wilson, the big, huge, awesome visual effects, and the larger-than-life action scenes, and all the IMAX. This movie truly does look like a successor to the first Aquaman movie in terms of scope and budget. I know Amber Heard is a terrible person who does not deserve your money or mine, but everyone else who worked on this movie, from the looks of this trailer, it looks like they do. So I am hoping this movie does at least decent box office numbers. I don't know though. Only time will tell. I'm just saying though, if The Flash is an indication of anything, it's not looking good. But the movie looks good regardless, so I'm looking forward to it. So, the trailer for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Have you watched it yet? What are your thoughts on it? And are you gonna go see this movie? Whatever you think, go ahead and leave a comment. And of course, thank you for subscribing. Now, if you'll excuse me, I gotta get back to the Teal Mask Pokemon Violet DLC, cause it's pretty cool so far. Peace!